Much of the discontent on restricted e-bikes is just how difficult it is to pedal past that 25 km/h zone. And that is actually true on gently dipping or flat sections. As you can see, I'm now on a tarmac road and I'm nudging in between 24 and 26, and yes, it can be difficult. But then again, this is a tarmac road. What happens when you go off-road? So today then, we're going to show why 25 km/h isn't too slow. Now, first of all, I want to point out there are differences between motors. Some, like the Bros and Shimano, allow you to pedal past that 25k zone almost seamlessly. Whereas others, like the current Bosch, although it is rumoured there's a new motor on the way, means that when you get a 25k, you almost hit a wall. So not only are you stripped of assistance, but because of the inherent resistance, you also have that drag to deal with as well. But look, you'll probably be hitting that 25k restriction on the flat, so maybe just back down a touch. I mean, what is the rush? Or if you're going to be riding on the road, why not buy a road bike or a gravel bike, or maybe move to a country where there's a 30k restriction. I guess that's a little bit too extreme. But what happens then when you move from a road situation to an off-road situation? Because this is, after all, mountain biking. Now, as you can see, I'm on a gentle gradient and I'm pedaling about 20 km/h, so it would take a lot more effort to maintain 25 km/h. But of course, I am in eco mode. And a lot of you will be saying, well, why aren't you in turbo mode? Well, indeed, I could do that, but that's a typical transition stage, and I'm doing as much as I can to conserve my watt hours on my battery, because I want to save that battery for the tough stages. That's where you're going to be using turbo mode. So I can probably sustain 25k's on that, but can your battery? No, I don't think so. Your battery certainly won't handle you riding around in turbo all day. But let's change it up. Let's actually move to a steeper gradient. Let's actually take it to tarmac. Now, I'm actually doing 20 k's an hour, and I think even on tarmac, that's probably enough. But as we'll find out, there are many other things that affect what happens around the 25k restriction, such as tyre pressure, tyre choice, and rider weight. Now, common sense will tell you that a lighter rider is going to get uphill quicker than a heavier rider, and the same rules still apply to e-bikes. Now, roadies, they obsess with things such as power to weight ratio and FTP, functional threshold power, but mountain bikers, well, we worry more about things like terrain and battery conservation. So the bottom line is, if you want to go uphill faster, you simply need to lose weight. The road conditions we used at the beginning of this video were used because it seems that's where a lot of the unhappiness stems from with the 25k restriction. And you can see why. Flat, easy, fast rolling surfaces, it's easy to get to those speeds in places such as that. However, what happens when we move to different surfaces, different trails and different gradients? Here we are, this is now a typical mountain bike single track. The surface is a little bit more earthy, there's a little bit more root, there's a little bit more rock, so the speeds are going to be definitely slower, but again, it's going to be a lot more interesting place to ride. So I think you'll agree that's the type of trail that mountain bikers love to ride. It's engaging, there's corners, there's lots of obstacles to deal with, and I was doing about 20 to 22 km/h on that little track there. So what's all the fuss about? So what happens then if the surface stays the same but the trail steepens? So ahead of me is a really nice bit of single track, slightly more gradient. I'm in trail mode. Let's go and see how much I can get up to. Okay, 13, 18, 19, 20 k's. I'm not sure I can sustain that all the way up this climb. So some of you are going to say, yeah, well, what about boost? Well, I'm actually going to stick it in boost and try that trail again. Okay, 18, up to speed quicker. 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, that's about it. The argument then must surely stop there. I mean, that's a pretty straightforward piece of single track. And yes, in boost mode, I was getting to 23, 24 kilometers an hour, but in eco and trail, nowhere near. Now, I have seen how de-restricted e-bikes get up fire roads quicker, but I've also seen how my daughter at 50 kilos gets up trails quicker as well. And what I'd say to you is, what's all the rush about? Now we're going to move on now to something a little bit more technical, a little bit more involved, and I'm going to stick it into boost mode and I'm going to give it everything. It's still quite a smooth surface, but the gradient is pretty steep. So here we go, boost mode, up a bank. Okay, 14, 15, now I'm down to 13, 10, 9, 10 kilometers an hour, 9 kilometers an hour. Ah! That's about it. Oh, surely that's the end of the conversation, right? Now this is what we like, a nice bit of dirt. And remember, surfaces such as that are going to roll a lot slower than those smooth tarmac roads that we were on earlier. There's going to be other things as well, such as your components, your tyres as well. So soft compound tyres, they're going to roll slower. Tyres with more pressure in them are going to roll faster. And there's other things as well to think about, such as the type of bike you've got, whether you've got a full suspension bike or a hardtail. Hardtails generally roll a little bit quicker. And of course, there's the motor. Don't forget, there's differences in that restriction between the different motors, between Yamaha, Bros, Bosch and Shimano. But you know what? When you come to places such as this, I mean, seriously, what is the rush? Well, those guys aren't in any rush, and maybe neither should you be. So the question is 25 kilometers an hour too slow? Well, I guess on fire roads and transitional stages and tarmac roads, yes, you do have to put in a little bit more of your own effort, but a lot of motors are now seamless when it goes past the 25 Ks. But when it comes to mountain biking with good shapes, good surfaces, good conditions, which are really engaging, I really don't think that they are. However, let us know your comments on what you think about 25k or maybe 30k, depending on the country you're in the comments box below. I'm sure there'll be lots of discussion on this subject. In the meantime, check out another stance on is 25k too slow, just down by here. So yeah, don't forget to hit the globe, subscribe and give us a thumbs up.